Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm going to share with you some tips on keeping track of your homeschool days. And I'm also going to share with you why I think that entire concept of keeping track of homeschool days is pointless to begin with. Now, the reason that most of us keep track of our homeschool days is because our state law tells us that we have to. And that's exactly the reason why I did it. In Pennsylvania, you have to homeschool your children for at least 180 days, or they give you a set number of hours, which for me, keeping track of days was much easier than keeping track of hours. So if you do have questions on keeping track of hours, I'm not the one to ask about that because I've never actually done that. But I am going to share some tips with you because I've done it several different ways, and I'm going to actually start with the most difficult and go down to the very end. But first of all, I just want to get into the whole idea of keeping track of homeschooling days. Okay, if you think about it, kids who go to school every day, of course their teacher takes roll call and sees who's there, but that is because their school is inside that building. So they're either there or they are not. When a child is homeschooled, they are not confined to a building, and they're certainly not confined to their home. The world is literally a child's school. So I think that the whole idea of telling a homeschooling parent that they have to keep track of their kids' homeschool days is just funny to me, because they're at school every day. They don't need to go somewhere. They don't need to be doing a certain thing. And I think that's just an idea probably that a lot of the school administrators and everyone have in mind, is that they think that homeschool has to happen at a dining room table or at a kitchen table or in a schoolroom or in a certain area of the house where they are doing certain schoolish things. And that is simply not the case. When a child is homeschooled, they wake up every day and they are at school. They're present. To me, every homeschooled child has perfect attendance every single year, because no matter what you're doing, even if you are not doing any set lessons planned, your child is learning. Your child is picking things up. They are taking in the world around them, and they are learning things each and every day. But again, we do have to go back to these bureaucratic red tape laws that tell us that we have to keep track of our kids' homeschooling days. So that's why I'm just going to share with you some tips on how to do that. So the first way that you could do this is you could actually keep a daily log of the activities that they do every day. And this is actually what I started doing when we first started homeschooling, because I was pretty unsure of myself. I was unsure of the law, and I was really passionate about showing the school district what a great job I was doing homeschooling my kids. And that showed up in my daily log, because rather than just taking attendance for my kids, I actually kept a log that I numbered saying everything that my kids did every single day. And I'm going to just show you one of these earlier logs that I kept. Now this one actually is pretty light. I have several that were completely filled. And I did this for multiple children. But if you are someone who is type A, or someone who really likes to keep records, and if you don't have a big family, I would not recommend this for someone who has, I'd say, more than like 3 kids. Don't do this. It's very time consuming. But what I used to do, I would take a teacher's planner that I just got at Staples, and I would write the subjects across the top, the dates down the side, and then I would write down what they did each day for every single subject, and then I would number the days on the side. So if you see here, I hope you can see this, it says 60, 61, 62, and those are actually the days of school that they're on. And again, I would not recommend this to you unless you are someone who really does enjoy doing this, because unless your school district, or your state, I should say, requires something like this, really spend that extra time doing activities with your kids and not worrying about this so much. But this is an option that you can do to keep track of your days. So after I was doing this for a while, I actually started to get really tired of having to spend 2 to 3 hours a night working in these daily logs, because it was literally almost the same amount of time that I was spending doing school with my kids. And I was talking to someone at my church, and she said to me, you know you don't have to do that for your attendance log. And I said, I don't. And she said, no. And then I talked to someone else, and she said that all she did was check things off. So I was really happy about that. And I learned that you could actually, oops, I just dropped something. Bailey, can you pick that up? So I started doing that. Yeah, one of my kids colored in it. So this was how I then started keeping track of our daily attendance. And again, I put the subjects down the side this time. So you see English, Advanced Algebra, Social Studies, Science, it goes down the line. And then it would just have the days of the week, and I would check off what subject they did on what day. So like, for example, on Tuesday, which was day 31, she did English, Social Studies, Japanese, art, and life skills. So that is another way that you could keep track of your homeschool days, is you could just get some sort of a planner, or you can make a spreadsheet where you write the subject, you write the date, and then you can just check off what they've done, and you can number it as you go along so that you can know when you get up to that part where you're at your threshold. You know, like for us, again, it was 180 days. So after I was doing that for a while, I then talked to the same person who originally told me that I was doing too much, and she said, that's not even necessary. So another way that I learned, and yeah, I have picked up on all of these ways. I've done all of these at some point in our homeschool history. I've done this for our attendance. So another thing that I did after I moved on from that was I would just print out a calendar for the year, and I would just X off each day. And then I would just count it. I think I used to count like through the month, and then I would write how many days there were at the bottom of the month so that I wouldn't have to keep counting over and over and over again. So like, say if we got 20 days in January, then I would write 20 at the bottom. And then if we got, say, 22 days in for February, I would just either write 22, or I think I might have added the two together and just kept going like that. And those are just some options that you can do. That's actually not even what I do anymore. See, I keep going easier and easier and easier with you, because when you have a big family like mine, you really have to keep things as simple as possible. So as you saw, we started out with a really, really detailed log of what they did every single day with it numbered. Then you moved to the check marks of subjects that they did every day with it numbered. Now we moved on to a calendar that the days can be crossed off. And then I met my current homeschool evaluator, who I have now gone to for several years. I don't even know how many, maybe 4 or 5 years now. And she has the same mindset that I do about attendance. She really thinks that it's pointless for homeschoolers to have to keep track of their children's homeschool days, because, again, kids who are homeschooled, the world is their school. They are at school all the time. You know, there is no cutoff point of now they're in homeschool, now they're not. Homeschooling is not just something that you do. It is an entire lifestyle, and it encompasses everything, and she completely understands that. So if you are blessed enough to find a homeschooler who has that mindset, and again, I do, before I even talk about this, make sure that if you do have to have an evaluator, I'm not sure how it is with every state. In Pennsylvania, you do have to have a homeschool evaluator. Make sure that you understand what your evaluator expects for attendance, because they all have different ideas of how they want you to show their attendance. So I don't want to tell you, oh, just X it off on the calendar, and you might have an evaluator who wants something a bit more detailed. So I would say to you that if you are finding an evaluator, if you're new to homeschooling and are looking for an evaluator, find someone who only really expects what you are willing to give them. Because I have found that there are a lot of homeschool evaluators who really do require more of you than what the law says that they have to. So if you don't mind keeping all those records, absolutely do that, especially if your evaluator wants you to do that and you're okay with that. Yes, go for it. But find out what your evaluator wants before you start keeping track of things a certain way, and then come to find out at evaluation that that's not what she wanted. So anyway, so going back to my evaluator, when I actually started out using her, I remember I emailed her and I said to her, how should I send to you? How would you like me to keep track of their homeschool days? And all she told me that I had to do was just sign a written statement stating that I attest that I have homeschooled my children for at least 180 days this year, and then sign it. And she is perfectly fine with that, because again, it's just as with the calendar, you know, you're crossing it off, you're crossing off certain days, adding up to 180 days, or you can just tell her, yes, I did homeschool my kids for at least 180 days this year, because she understands. And I know that there are lots of other evaluators who understand that, yeah, if a child is homeschooled, even if they're not at home, they're still learning. So again, every homeschool child has perfect attendance, even when they're sick. So I just want you to keep that in mind. I hope this has helped you, because I know that a lot of people do ask me for advice on keeping track of homeschooling days. And it really, I think a lot of people make it more difficult, like I did at the beginning, than it really has to be. My advice to you is just to keep things simple. Put all of that extra time that you have into, you know, working with your kids, thinking of fun things to do with them, because keeping track of attendance is not something that should take you hours and hours every night. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to see more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. And if you have any questions or comments, I will get back to you as soon as I can. Sometimes it takes me a bit because I'm extremely busy, but I will answer you, and I hope you have a great day.